All right, welcome back to the Explainer. We're jumping right in today because we've got something that literally blew my mind. If you're tired of dousing yourself in toxic bug sprays every single time you step outside, well, you are definitely in the right place. Today, we're exploring a totally genius, century-old Japanese method that wipes out mosquitoes naturally. And the best part? It keeps our precious bees and butterflies completely safe. It's just a fascinating look at how an entire country tackled a universal problem using nature itself. So, let me ask you a question, and let's be totally honest here. Are you genuinely tired of spraying literal poison on your skin just to avoid a bug bite? Because we've all been there, right? Every summer, it's like this forced routine, covering ourselves, covering our kids in DET and harsh synthetic chemicals just to enjoy what, a half hour on the patio? It leaves you feeling sticky, smelling terrible, and honestly, kind of wondering what exactly you're absorbing straight into your bloodstream. Okay, let's really dive into this. Think about the stark contrast we're dealing with here. On one side, we've got our modern Western approach, synthetic yard sprays, which is essentially applying chemical warfare to our bodies and our backyards. But on the other side, we have a 130-year-old Japanese botanical system. Instead of drenching everything in synthetic chemicals, this system relies entirely on gentle smoke, targeted scent, and carefully selected living plants. It is just such an elegant ecological philosophy. All right, so here's our roadmap for today. First, the 130-year-old secret. Second, the botanical defense system. Third, why it's safe for bees and butterflies. Fourth, 3 mistakes to avoid. And finally, how to build your botanical yard. So let's jump right into Section 1, the 130-year-old secret, the origins of botanical defense. 130 years. Just pause and think about that number for a second. For well over a century, an entire country has been running this quiet, living system to solve the exact same mosquito problem we're fighting with harsh chemicals today. They haven't just tolerated mosquitoes, they've actively managed them using a methodology that's so gentle, native pollinators barely even notice it's there. If we trace this all the way back to 1890, a Japanese entrepreneur named Ichiro Ueyama figured out that burning the dried, powdered flower heads of the pyrethrum daisy drove off insects. And that discovery led to the iconic Katori Senko, the spiral mosquito coil you still see burning across Asia today. But here is the absolutely crucial detail most people miss. The living, blooming pyrethrum daisy in your garden is actually attractive to bees. It's only the processed, highly concentrated extract used in modern commercial sprays that turns into a toxic disaster for pollinators. The whole philosophy we're looking at today is about keeping the plant alive and growing, not stripping it down into an engineered poison. And that brings us to Section 2, the Botanical Defense System, a plant-by-plant guide. Now, what's really amazing here is just how accessible this system is. We have the 4 core plants mapped out right alongside their USDA growing zones. So whether you're up in Zone 4 or down in Zone 9, you can quickly spot which of these botanical defenders will actually thrive in your specific state. You don't have to live in Tokyo to make this work, right? You can build this right in your very own backyard. Let's meet our very first plant, Yomogi, also known as Japanese mugwort. Now, this isn't just some random weed. It's a huge staple in Japanese culture, used in things like yomogi mochi and traditional moxibustion. But what makes it an absolute powerhouse for our yards is that its leaves contain cineal and camphor. These are super well-documented aromatic compounds that actively disrupt a mosquito's ability to navigate. And since it's a hardy perennial in zones 4 through 8, a single plant basically gives you a free annual harvest of repellent material for the rest of its life. And honestly, using it is just an incredible sensory experience. You simply crush a handful of the leaves, let them dry on a screen for maybe a week or so, and then burn a small bundle in a fireproof dish right at dusk. That aromatic smoke completely clears your seating area. It smells earthy, it smells natural, and it works without a single synthetic ingredient being sprayed into the air. It's amazing. Which brilliantly illustrates this whole concept of double-duty plants. So plant number 2 is shiso. If you've ever eaten at a sushi spot, you've definitely seen this beautiful green and purple herb wrapped around your food or served with umeboshi plums. But what almost no one realizes is that shiso contains paraldehyde and limonene. Entomological research actually shows these exact compounds have genuine active mosquito deterrent activity. Because shiso works through leaf-level aromatic oils, applying it is incredibly direct. Literally, you just pluck a leaf, crush it in your hand to release those oils, and rub it directly onto your forearms. You get immediate 100% food-safe protection. Plus, if you let the stems bolt and flower late in the season, the bees are going to absolutely love working those blooms. Why? Because the repellent action is in the leaf oils, not the flower. Next up on the list is sansho, or Japanese pepper. This is a citrusy, kind of tingling spice shrub. And research has documented that the essential oil compounds in this specific genus have both repellent and larvicidal activity against mosquitoes. Talk about a double-duty powerhouse, right? Its foliage actively repels mosquitoes, while its small white spring flowers act like a massive magnet for native pollinators. So it's feeding the bees while simultaneously guarding your yard. And our final plant is haiba, essentially the living fence. This is a gorgeous Japanese conifer containing hinoki tial. That's a naturally occurring antimicrobial compound that just naturally resists insects and decay. Planted as a hedge along your property line in zones 5 through 7, haiba creates this drought-tolerant living wall that works quietly in the background season after season, requiring virtually zero maintenance once it's established. All right, let's move into Section 3, Safe for Bees and Butterflies, the Science of Botanical Defense. So here is the absolute crucial point. Think about the horrifying difference in methodology here. The synthetic yard sprays, the foggers and granules you buy at the local hardware store, those operate as broad-spectrum nerve agents. Compare that to the Japanese botanical method, which uses scent masking and localized irritation. The mechanisms literally couldn't be more different. You see, synthetic sprays can't tell a mosquito from a honeybee. When you fog a yard, you're killing everything. But living plants work through localized leaf oil irritation. A pollinator visiting an open shiso or sansho flower simply isn't exposed to the repellent oils housed safely inside the leaves. This highly targeted mechanism is the exact reason this approach has coexisted peacefully with Japan's bee populations for over a century, while our modern commercial pest control is just devastating domestic bee colonies. Now, we really need to cover Section 4, 3 mistakes to avoid, protecting your yard's ecosystem. Let's see how this all builds into practical application because, guys, these 3 mistakes are incredibly common. Mistake 1, assuming that synthetic pyrethroid foggers are somehow natural just because the original pyrethrum comes from a flower. Synthetics are chemically engineered to be way more persistent and toxic. They are absolutely not the same thing. Mistake 2, planting yomogi directly into open garden soil. Listen, it spreads aggressively through rhizomes. If you don't put it in a sunken container, it will literally consume your entire garden bed in 2 seasons. And mistake 3, mowing down your mugwort or shiso before harvesting. Doing that is literally throwing away the exact material you're supposed to be drying and utilizing all summer long. Finally, we have Section 5, Build Your Botanical Yard, Taking Action Today. I really want you to think about this quote. This is a system built on living plants instead of chemical warfare. This isn't just some internet folklore or a trendy, quick garden hack. It is a deeply proven ecological philosophy that has been actively running in backyards for over 100 years. It respects nature by actually using nature. The growing window is open right now all across the country. You've got the knowledge, you know the zones, and you understand the science. So I'm going to leave you with this. Which of these 4 Japanese plants, yomogi, shisho, sansho, or hiba, are you going to add to your yard first? And more importantly, how many other modern problems could we solve if we simply started working with nature instead of trying to chemically overpower it? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.